Tune in for everything you need to know to stay in the know regarding the automotive industry. Here's your host, Jason Harris.
Hey, what's going on, Podcast Nation? It is Jason Harris here, and thank you for joining me on another episode of Strategy Mob. Today, I have two very special guests. I have the one and only Miss Julie Taylor, or Mrs. Julie Taylor. It's Julie Taylor Brown now, is it not?
It is, yeah. I need to update.
I know. I was just thinking that.
My name on here. Oh, husband's not gonna like that.
Congratulations, by the way, on getting married.
Thank you.
And I have the one and only Miss Whit Norrad. Guys, thank you so much for taking the time to jam with me today. Hey, for everybody out there that's watching and listening and don't know much about you fine ladies and how you got started in this industry, I think it'll be cool to kick off our podcast with a couple origin stories. So, Julie, I'll start with you. How did you get started in this crazy little world we call the automotive industry?
Oh, yeah. To be honest, my story's not super exciting. I have a bachelor's degree in creative advertising from Humber. So from that, I think I applied to like 100 Indeed positions, maybe more. And I know that's not a great story, but the one person who I came in and like we just had a good jam going on, and I've been here for almost 4 years now. So that's how I literally stumbled into it. I know that's everyone's story, but I used to work in real estate, so real estate law, yeah.
Real estate to automotive. That makes total sense, actually. No, but you're right, though, Julie. You know, a lot of us just kind of fell into this business. I mean, I got suckered into it by a roommate. You know, he was like, "Hey, Jay, you like selling cars, right?" I'm like, "I've never sold cars." So he goes, "So you like selling stuff, right?" I'm like, "Yeah, sure, I like selling stuff."
Yeah.
Great. Why don't you come work for our dealership? They're looking to hire people. Little did I know he got a $500 referral check if I stuck around for longer than 2 months. And like literally by the end of the year, I think half the people in my dorm was working at the car dealership. This guy was doing well for himself. Hey, Whit, for yourself, how did you get started in the industry?
It's not a super long tail. Prior to being in automotive, I worked in telecom, in mobile telecom, and then prior to working for Flex Dealer, I actually worked in the aftermarket accessories kind of vertical. Doing marketing for a company that makes truck tents that attach to I'm sure you've seen them, they attach to the bed of a truck and stuff like that. So that was my transition from that to Flex Dealer.
You know, I want to get a truck tent. Like, I really do. I have this big Nissan Armada, and I want to put one of those big ones that kind of on the top. And, you know, I want to take my kids out. And I told my wife the other day about this. She's like, no. That's about the extent of the conversation. It was just like, no. I was like, all right, fine.
Okay, your vacation options are limited, so.
Well, right now they are. I mean, look, you know, that's actually a good segue into kind of our first question. Is kind of what the current norm is, right? Right now, I can't, because I have 3 kids under the age of 10, right? I can't travel farther than 30 minutes away from my house because there's not a public restroom open anywhere. And it's like, no, I'm serious. It's like literally, I swear everyone goes to the washroom before we leave. 15 minutes into the thing, I gotta go. Are you bloody kidding me? You just went, right? So literally, we have about a 30-minute circumference around our place right now. That's about as far as we can go. We'll have to figure out. We're supposed to go up north, like here, like this next week, and I don't even know how we're gonna make that 2.5-hour drive. But
they might be open at Walmart. I don't even know.
You know what? I don't think they are. I don't know, but everyone's told me that all public washrooms are closed right now. But Julie, for yourself, what's the current norm look like for you?
So if we're talking just work life, we're still in the office here. Our corporate team is working out of our building, abiding by social distancing and everything like that. But it's from seeing some people, I do still see our team here. So I'm not stuck at home bored. And I know a lot of people are saying they miss talking to people, but I still see some people every day. So that norm hasn't changed for me. From a marketing perspective, things are changing every day. So, and I mean, like, even down to the littlest things as of adjusting like hours on websites or like something like that, or sending out email campaigns. Okay, so yesterday we are going to leave that message out. Today we want to do it. So everything is happening so quickly, and you just have to go with the flow. From a personal perspective, I don't see any of my friends anymore. So doing a lot of renovations, I don't even know.
You know, I think a lot of people are spending more time in their house than they have in the longest time. You know, I was talking to my wife the other night, and I was like, have we ever spent this much time like in the same place since we've been married? I thought about that, right? Because I'm like, we did a cool honeymoon and all that other stuff. I'm like,
Right.
I don't think we've ever spent 2.5 months in the same, the same facility for such a long time.
Exactly.
Hey, Whit,
Yeah.
for yourself, what's the current norm look like for you?
Well, we've always been mostly remote in the Flex Dealer world, so that wasn't at all a change for us. And even our team that's in our head office in Edmonton frequently worked remote anyway. So we were covered when those kind of rules hit. And then from a strategic perspective, we kind of shortened the timeline that we're able to look at certain things with, because there's a different sense of immediacy. Not new programs came out, everything needs to change, and that short-sighted type of thing. But we're looking at, what do we do right now? How do we facilitate action now? What legally can we facilitate action? How can we do that? But in the same vein, what happens when it's over? What happens when it's sort of over? And planning for those contingencies with just not knowing when we'll be able to launch them.
No, I'm with you. I mean, I think for a lot of us right now, it's like it's planned to the best if we possibly can, and you might as well have an ABC plan because we don't necessarily know what's going to happen. I mean, right now, look, I know dealerships are open and things are kind of coming back to normal, but I mean, who the hell knows? I mean, we could have a whole nother second wave of this, and we could, Mr. Ford, where we are here in Ontario, could just come out and say, nope, we'll close this thing back down again. And it's just, I think from a marketing perspective for all of us, like, we have to be able to pivot. And I think that kind of seems to be the new norm for all of us as marketers, is that, it's always been our goal to be like proactive as much as humanly possible as far as the dealership will allow us to be. But now it's like we had just to be prepared to pivot and pivot quick. So that's a great kind of segue kind of into my first question for you guys is, the customers changed a lot. Like they have, right? I use this analogy a lot, but it makes sense. I have 3 kids, and going to a grocery store is not necessarily a fun thing. And now I'm so used to going to a grocery store and ordering these things and showing up and just do on the way. I've done more Amazon ordering than I think I've ever had in the past. I get people to deliver my food. Like the customers change and the market is changing. As an industry, we have to change. And I would kind of like to know kind of your guys' thoughts and opinions of, how the customers change and how that's going to kind of affect our industry. Julie, I'll start with you, and then Whit, I'll ask you the same question.
So I'm kind of looking at it from 2 standpoints. We have the customers who are coming into service and people who are interested in still purchasing a vehicle. So seeing those inquiries come in, I'm noticing that a lot of people for service they just want to know what we're doing and what to expect, which I totally understand. So let's say you go to the grocery store, things change there. It seemed like every week I would go pick up my produce and you don't know where to stand. You don't know how to act. So we have actually developed some language patterns that help that all of our BDC reps and advisors can tell customers and outline like, this is what you should do. So while that's not something that we're pumping out on social media for every customer who's questioning, it's definitely important to know. And for sales, we're doing a lot of stuff digitally now. So even if people aren't asking to do a Zoom meeting, we're offering it up, even though things are open, because really we've all wanted to be appointment based for so many years. And now is I want to say not opportunity, but the time where they can start to implement that with a strategy and really like measure the people coming in and be able to control that whole crowd.
That's so true. Look, I think customers do really want to hear your process before they hear anything else. I would have never thought that as a marketer that we would be marketing process and not payment, but that is
Exactly.
that's what we're pushing right now. So, what do you kind of think, as far as how the customers changed, how their buying, behavior has changed, and how you think that's going to kind of change our industry? What's your thoughts?
I think there's 2 sides to it. Julie, I really mirror the second half of your answer where you say the opportunity has always kind of been there, because I don't think the customer hasn't really changed that much. They've been asking for these tools. And certain dealers have been pushing the tools away and saying, no, we want people to physically come here. And this has almost been an opportunity in a way to finally say, you have to do this. This is the only way you're going to get business right now. So I think, even if you look to Carvana, which is different than having a traditional dealership take a Zoom call or initiate a Zoom call, that concept of not being there and doing as much as you can, people have always wanted that. And we're very fortunate that we've been able to work with clients that have been willing to push those things out before this was relevant. So they were prepared before they even knew there was something to be prepared for, which is nice. And then the ones that might have taken a little bit of a more old school mentality and said, no way, are saying, okay, well, we have to figure out a way to do this. And it is nice to be in the seat where, Flex Dealer can say, okay, we know how to help you do this because we've seen it work for ABC. So I don't think they've changed that much. And tools are now actually being used by dealers. And I fall into the category of somebody that purchased a vehicle since this started happening. But I would have wanted that process to be, and I know so many people who have. As we have 2 sets of friends that have. My father-in-law did, I did. So did that really matter? No, I just had to be by appointment only when I finally showed up. But everything was done and dusted before I arrived.
And I think it makes it a lot easier for the customer. I mean, as an industry, we're not necessarily known for changing or changing quickly, right? And, I mean, if there's any type of silver lining, and I don't want to discredit the fact that this has been a very serious situation for a lot of people out there. But, as for our industry, there has been a silver lining of kind of like where before Whit, it was kind of a good idea. Like for a lot of dealers, that's a good idea. I'm going to do that. I'm going to embrace more of that online, communication, that online process. Now it's beyond a good idea. It's a mandate. Like you just have to do it, right? And as much as I do give our industry grief sometimes because I do a lot of hard love, I will actually have to give them props because I feel like as an industry, right, in 2 months, right, we've changed more as an industry in 2 months than we probably have in the last 20 years combined. So it is very cool to see that. But with that change, that's going to change the way that we market to the customer. And I'd like to kind of get you guys' thoughts on that because I'm getting the question asked a lot right now is, what should we be marketing, to our customers now and how should we be doing that? So I'd like to hear your guys' thoughts. Julie, I'll start with you and then Whit, I'll ask you the same question.
For sure. So I can kind of give you an idea of the strategy that we've implemented here. So not just a direct message, but something that we've changed which when customers are landing on our website. So over the last 2 months, we've actually used this time to update our websites. We switched website vendors. I really did like them both, but this new one offers some really great tools and some really great chat solutions because people are chatting more online because they're not going to call you. Sometimes they will, sometimes they won't, I guess, but they're chatting more online. And then now we have an opportunity where we can value their trades and stuff just through the chat solutions. So while that might not be your traditional Facebook or Instagram, we now offer a lot more tools that allow for the whole idea of digital retailing to become live, which I'm honestly really happy because I don't know if we would have gotten to that place if it weren't for the environmental factors that forced us to change so quickly. But let's say from a social marketing perspective, like we had actually mentioned, we were on a call earlier today talking about how maybe the messaging needs to be more about the process, about what you're doing instead of the service or discount you're providing. Because even so, people are still working from home and maybe not driving as much. So that might be something you need to reach out to them about, a sanitization or something like that, rather than just, okay, 50% off an oil change. We got you.
No, you're totally right. No, you're totally right, Julie. I mean, I think in the past we've always kind of marketed like at our customer, like huge discounts,
yes,
low lease rates for 1 day only. But like, right? Wait, you know what I'm talking about. It's totally true, right? But I think now what we have to do is we actually have to market to the customer. And for us to market to the customer, stuff at the customer, we really do have to have that EQ, that level of empathy, to understand, what situation they may be in, or how their confidence is. I mean, Whit, I'm actually kind of curious for yourself, because you made a purchase, was there marketing involved? Were you in market before all this happened, or is it something that happened during it because you had all this additional time to do research and shopping online? How did that come about for you?
I wish it were that one. It definitely wasn't the time one, because we've been honestly so much busier just with more common process things than we normally would be, where there's typically more time to strategize. So not that one, but I guess from my own consumer perspective, it was just the stars aligned. Every now and then I would look. I have something, I specifically wanted a new Colorado. That was what I got. But every now and then I would look, and it was the right timing. There was nothing special about it. I looked at, all the dealers that I would consider buying, and one had it. I lucked out. Lead handling is always fascinating when they don't know that you have any idea what is happening. Or lack of lead handling. So the rep that I was connected with, fortunately, was fantastic, and it was done deal. I think I had to pick it up a few days after I bought it, but I didn't see it anything like that. It was completely over the phone and online.
So you didn't test drive it, eh?
Nope.
That's cool.
Fortunately, it worked out. But I've driven that specific truck before. So it was kind of, I knew what I was getting into, and I knew what specific trim I wanted. So it was kind of a given, I guess.
It's a gorgeous looking truck, by the way. I'm looking forward for you to come pick me up, and we can go for a ride, do a little content in Whit's new truck.
The thing where we sing in the car.
Let's do it. Let's do it. I can't hold a tune if my life depended on it, but I'm sure we can. That'll be fun. That'll be fun. But what are your thoughts on kind of like, what should a dealership be marketing, to customers right now, and how should they be doing that?
I think I can also say that empathy is definitely an important play, and I also don't think there's kind of one catch-all strategy to do that, because we have clients in really small rural markets where, if car dealers weren't open, that would be very, very difficult for their population to get to a doctor's appointment or get from point A to point B. It's not like you're in a city with a subway or something like that. You have to have a vehicle. So marketing to that market, even though the environmental factor is the same, is very different than a dealer in Toronto or a dealer in Edmonton, where the factors are different. People don't have that same sense of urgency with a vehicle purchase. So I think you really need to consider and know the market that you're in when you're looking to communicate. But the biggest thing is doing it in a way that's tactful, I think, and empathetic. We have a lot of agency clients where we handle all changes. And then every now and then there are some clients where they also make their own changes. And we did have one dealer that they changed one of the main areas on their homepage, and it was just the wording, it didn't hit right. It just didn't sound positive. It was just like, hey, it's a great time to come buy XYZ. And I think the effort was there, and they're fantastic people, but just having that communicated in a way that still reads properly so that your intent as a seller comes through properly is important as well.
No, I think you're 100% right there. And the cool thing is that, and Julie, you had mentioned it about appointments. Like, as an industry, we've always wanted to create kind of an appointment culture, right? And there's a lot of advantages with the appointment, right? I mean, as a salesperson, as a sales manager, as a dealership, like, I can be prepared for that person, right? We always talk in this industry, experience. We've got to have an amazing experience. Well, it's like, for us to be able to actually set that experience up, we need to have that time, that preparation, before they come in. I mean, what's the best case scenario? I've been talking to someone over the internet. They show up one day, and it's like, okay, that car that you were interested in is like 3 cars deep and covered in snow. Like, can you wait for 45 minutes while I try to dig this thing out? I mean, obviously we don't have snow right now, but it's
you'll
that,
be buried in the lot.
Yeah, that's true. But it's that preparation, and I feel like that from from a marketing perspective, we can push towards, more of that appointment style culture. But I would love to kind of get your guys' thoughts on like, how do we create that appointment style culture within our dealership and our marketing efforts? Julie, I'll start with you, and then Whit, I'll ask you the same question.
I love this question because it is obviously easier for us to look good as a dealer group when our teams are all prepared. So my team itself also deals with a lot of the reviews, so we can see if someone wasn't ready or not, if a customer did decide to come forward with that comment. But from a perspective and what we've been doing here strategically would be taking in the customer's inquiries and making sure that we can ask them, when are you most available in the next 2 to 3 days? So when we can sit down and have a review of your options, if it's over Zoom, FaceTime, or we can even book an appointment and they can come into the store. So really, from my perspective, it would be asking for that, because you don't get what you don't ask for. And at this point, customers generally aren't going to walk through your door anyways, because even speaking for myself, you don't know if a business is up to date online. So there could be certain hours, and I would still even question that for my local grocery store because things are changing daily. So luckily, I feel like customers are following up as well and asking us when we're available too, because they don't want to be waiting.
No, 100%. Like, I think what it is during this time frame, of being able to order and stuff through here, and being able to engage that way, is that there's this this level of productivity that as just a society now we've kind of gotten used to. I mean, I think a lot of people get used to working from home. I mean, guys, I'm normally on the road like 4, 5, 6 hours a day, and it's like all of a sudden now I'm at home and I got all these hours back, and I'm like going, damn, like I'm getting stuff done.
Productivity, like, for sure.
Right? I'm like 2 days into my week and I'm like done. Well, yeah. So it's like, okay, so that's what I'm seeing is kind of that push for that appointment culture is coming out of just being able to be productive. It's like, I know that customers don't want to spend 4.5 hours in a dealership. They didn't want to before all this happened, and they sure in the hell don't want to. They had to, right? But they had to. So that's how we kind of changed. What's your thoughts on how do we create that appointment culture within our dealership and our marketing efforts?
I think a big part of, aside of taking education almost out of it, a big part of that is, and saying let's create an appointment culture kind of sounds selfish from the dealer's point of view, and this is better for us. But taking it from the other side, that as a rule is probably better for most consumers too. And we spend a lot of time speaking to different things, even something as simple as homepage sliders. They're, as a rule, not your friend, and they're just there to please each of your department heads. Just things like that, and trying to educate dealers so that they can make the best choices and provide the best experience and hopefully win the most business. But if you look at that from the consumer side of things, and even in my own experience, I didn't want to go spend 4 hours in a dealership. I wanted to have as much of the process done before I got there. And one of our graphic designers at Flex, he actually just purchased a new car, and he was down to two different brands, 2 different dealers. And the one that took it was purely because they could do more for him before he got there.
Wow.
He had a lease to give back, and he was done with it, and either one could facilitate it, but neither one was the original dealer. He had moved quite far. And yeah, that was the thing, was I want to get as much done without actually visiting there. I want to know roughly, almost to the dollar, what my payment will be. I don't need to be there for that. And I think people know that more than they ever did too, especially where people have a better handle on their credit and a better handle on managing expectations, and tools exist for things like calculating a payment appropriately.
No, I think you're 100% right. I mean, it just comes down to just being more productive. But it's what kind of what you're saying is, it's the dealership that was willing, right? Willing to do that much more online. I mean, I think moving forward that, there's not a marketing message I can put out there to make more money for a dealership. There's not a 12-minute app for this one. There's not a magic diet pill. Like, it is just, we're going to have to process our way to profitability. And I think a big part of that is around the appointment. But as an industry, I don't think we've ever done a very good job of identifying the value around actually generating, creating that appointment. Now, it sounds like that your graphic designer ultimately went with the other company because they provided more value within doing business with them. So I'd love to kind of get your guys' thoughts on this of like, how do we bring more value, all right, to the appointment? Julie, I'll start with you, and Whit, I'll ask you the same question.
So I think just the obvious answer right off the bat, due to COVID-19, we need to make sure as our group of 11 dealerships that we can control the amount of people in the showroom and in the service lounge. So the first value of the appointment is the safety of our customers and you. And along with the safety would be, we can actually make sure that we can give you the right experience, go through the check-in with you, be able to make sure that everything is sterilized properly, give you the time that you need to ask your questions so you're able to feel comfortable and confident when you get your car back, whether it's from service or if you're in sales, again, making sure that the space around you. I mean, strictly from, if let's say we wanted to be appointment based and this wasn't happening right now, I would still argue that the time saving factor would be enough for most people to make them feel happy about deciding a time space to come in or a time slot if it was explained to them properly. I think that, again, going back to education, it just needs to be educated on why it's good for them rather than why it's just good for us, even just being prepared. But maybe that's okay to tell them too. Like if they're coming in for a sales appointment saying, just so we can have 3 other vehicles that are similar to the make and model that you're looking at ready for you, gassed up, ready to go, in case you want to see a couple more of your options. They're in the similar payment. They may be different make or models or used vehicles, but we're going to give you more if you can book an appointment with us rather than just walk in.
No, you're right, Julie. I mean, the value really does kind of come from the experience, right? But, we don't necessarily have done a great job about documenting that experience and putting it into our marketing efforts. Whit, I'd like to kind of get your thoughts on how we bring more value to the appointment through defining and marketing what that experience is, and what do you think that experience should look like?
So I kind of look at it from the opposite lens compared to you, Julie, where it's so much more pre-purchase. And I think a lot of times people forget about all of the steps that going into choosing the vehicle that you want, because it isn't just, oh, I hit the site and this one looks good. People want to know what's included in different trim packages. Can their technology suite, can I lock my vehicle from my phone? These small mid-level research questions, at point 3 in Google's buyer journey, they matter, and somebody needs to give them the answer. So if it's you and you're local to them and that's a real answer, that's going to put you miles ahead of, the dealer one city over if you're looking at new in the same OEM. And that's a big point that I think people forget, is value is so much longer than just the final moments. So I think getting there is really important, and giving across that. And then when it comes to appointments specifically, what happens at the appointment, telling them before they get there. And we have some dealers that have really great process in place that we've worked with them to set up. This is what it will look like when they book. They'll get this appointment confirmation. You ask X questions, and sometimes that can be simple as a required field in a form. You need to know what vehicle they want. It makes sense. And then other times you want to make sure that they know that they have to enter through this door at this juncture in time, just nuances. So communicating all the things that they need to know before they ever have the opportunity to come see you, so that they know what to expect.
No, I'm totally with you, Whit, on that. I mean, digital retailing, God, I hate even saying the word. You know what I mean? Like when it comes out of my mouth, I'm like, I don't even like the way that tastes. But like this whole idea that we can create this buying like process or system on the website, and Whit, to your point, it was like, well, okay, so we're creating a buying experience, But when the hell did we create the research and shopping part of the experience? Did we just kind of we'll just skip that whole part entirely because all we want to do is the customer to buy, right? But no, it's a good point, Whit. I mean, I think there's a lot of dealerships out there that should take note of that and say that you have this time right now. This is a really, really good time. You know, if you're looking at your physical dealership versus your online dealership, all right, how much research, how much shopping can a client actually do online? Because in the past, a lot of that research and a lot of that shopping, you know, we wanted the customer to come in to do it. So, you know, we only gave so much information on our website to the point where they had to ask that question. But I think what you guys are kind of leaning towards is literally let's give it all. All right, whatever you need to research, whatever you need to shop, it should be there. And then I guess, throw a digital retailing tool on it.
But you're also pre-qualifying them, right? If the answer is not what I want it to be, I didn't have to go all the way, waste a salesperson's time. So it is two-handed, I guess.
Well, I mean, that's a good point. I mean, Julie, kind of what's your thoughts on, you know, digital retailing? You know, are we ready for it? Should we be using it? You know, what do you think?
So when I started in marketing, it seemed like digital retailing, everyone always talked about one tool that you could just kind of post on your website. Maybe it's an iframe piece of material, and that allowed people to take a payment. So it seemed so odd to me when digital retailing is actually so much bigger than one tool. I mean, essentially every website is digital retailing. It's just whether you're doing it well and if you have a bunch of opportunities to give customer more. It's their journey through the purchasing path on your website, and that's part of it. So digital retailing actually, it drives me a little bit crazy because really when someone says, oh, we got this great new digital retailing tool, I think, well, you might have already had one. It's just how are you utilizing it? But I mean, in saying that, like I mentioned before, we actually did move to a new website that did provide a lot more additional tools to make that customer experience great again. And that's not actually taking a payment from a customer. While I will say during this pandemic, we actually have set up an e-transfer email that has been utilized. So I will say that we are ready for that. But
well, I mean, that's a good point. I mean, Julie, I think a lot of people are actually getting confused between digital retailing and e-commerce. You know?
Yes.
There's a big difference between there. I mean, e-commerce is literally taking someone literally all the way to the purchase, which I think very, very, very few people are going to make this size of purchase. I mean, some will, you know, this size of purchase that will take it all the way to that level. I mean, I'm with you. I think digital retailing needs to be there, but it needs to be as a supporting tool, all right, to the fact that we've created enough content on our website that meets the shopping and the researching portion of a customer's funnel or buying cycle. What's your kind of thoughts on digital retailing?
This is a probably bigger question than we have time for. And just to speak to your point, Julie, about tools, it's interesting to see how many different tools fall into this space, because often there's trade-offs both ways, whether it's trade-offs in speed, which is something that we really look at, especially with I don't know what it is specifically, but with most chat tools, we find some markets people get tons of traction with them, so we say, okay, keep it. But then in other markets, they might get 1 or 2 people using it per month, and at that point, it's not worth the few seconds it takes off your page load to load that tool. So kind of seeing how valuable each tool is to you, like, does this actually improve the user experience? Which is nice for us, because we're not the XYZ tool that does this thing. We're the middleman that helps our dealers decide, do you need this? Will it help people? What are the implications of it? So it's kind of it's an interesting time for that space too, especially with so many tools being offered up to people for free to see. And I guess it's probably a good proving ground for those tools, or perhaps a nail in the coffin if they aren't worth their weight.
I'm with you, Whit, on that one. I think there's a fair amount of tools out there that aren't worth their weight, for sure. But hey, look, a tool's only as good as how well someone uses it. That's the bottom line,
yep.
Right?
And same for websites. The websites.
That's right. It's a great tool,
digital
but it's only
dealership.
it's only as good as how well we use it. And I would like to get your kind of thoughts on this. I feel that as an industry, we've done a better job of embracing the fact, what you were saying is that it is our digital dealership, that it's not just a glorified digital brochure, right? It is, there are more people visiting our digital dealership than they are visiting our physical dealership. So what we say, the information we put there, the 17 different buttons, or not, hopefully not, that we put into a VD. Come on, isn't that kind of crazy, guys? I mean, seriously, I get I feel like VDP vomit. That's what I'm gonna start calling it. Like, it's just like literally like someone said, like they just like chewed up a bunch of buttons and blah, let's just stick it all over there. It's like, I don't know, dealership's website today, I'm not kidding you, literally had 11 call to actions on the VDP page. I was like, this is disgusting. Like, it was there were all these different colors too. I was like, it was being blinded in the eyes, but no, I think it's a great time for us as dealers to actually take a look at what our strategy is with our website. So, I'd like to get both you guys' kind of thoughts and how you guys kind of perceive the website and the importance it is to the dealership. Julie, I'll start with you, and Whit, I'll ask you the same question.
Obviously, your website is extremely important. It's ours actually, we merchandise in the back end of our website, and that pushes out to third-party sources, which you do also get a ton of traffic on too. But from our dealership standpoint, we've actually taken quite a new strategy when it comes to merchandising our inventory. So properly pricing, that's not my role, but we do have corporate teams that assist with that as well as at a dealer level. And also for our merchandising specialists, so our capture reps, we actually sat down, I would say, with them I don't even know, maybe at the beginning of this March. Is there a beginning of this? And developed a way that we can take photos in a sequence of how to post it, as well as different overlays. So if you were to visit one of our sites right now, the main image actually isn't just the vehicle, which we have gotten some difference of opinions on whether it should be the car or not, but it's actually an image that says we are open, all online, finally. Because while everyone's saying that we're closed and that we can't handle anything, we can still get your information if you're inquiring about a vehicle, and we have our brand ambassadors replying to them whenever they get them.
That's totally true, Julie. I mean, I can't tell you how many dealerships websites I've gone to and looked at the homepage, which is your first impression of that business, and look like nothing's changed. Like, nothing, same. It's just the same sliders, same call to actions. Not a lot there. But I think as an industry, we have to come up with better website strategies. Whit, I know you got all kinds of thoughts on website thoughts. Strategies. So I'm gonna let you take a crack at this. All right. Moving forward, for dealerships out there that are watching and listening right now, and they're like, yes, I need a better website strategy. What would you say to them?
I think there's no one size fits all strategy for any OEM for any specific size market, and that you do really need to make decisions that are paramount to your specific business. And we have a very rigorous onboarding process for our Flex Dealer clients to make sure that each website does reflect those things. Because even speaking to those same rural markets that they need a car, the level of involvement for online buying is so much different. So we couldn't take that full to a Zoom call for that market, whereas we can set up the appointment and have it be arranged online. That's enough for them, and they know that they'll bring them the car. Whereas other people, we want to take them right through automated booking to have a Zoom call set up at a scheduled time. Boom, it's in both people's calendars and you're off to the races. And then to give away the secret sauce on VDP call to actions, outside of the don't put 14 is a fantastic tip. I can agree with that. We actually looked at over 100,000 VDP clicks on any given VDP with 4 separate standardized call to actions. And regardless of what type of query people were asked, whether it was what's my payment, does it have a dent or anything like that, ask a question. it was high 70% of, and I mean, I could grab the exact stat, but high 70s for the catch-all, even if they wanted a payment, because there would be a button that says, get financing or get approved. Ask a question was the most dominant call to action. So we're very deliberate in placing one single call to action above the fold, close to the vehicle, as the thing that you see, now that we know that that's the one that's most likely to perform. And there are situations where that doesn't hold true. And we have commercial leasing clients, for instance, where that doesn't make sense, or it's too casual. So there are instances where it needs to be more specific. And then sometimes taking the other ones that exist on that page, taking them away and offering up the tools that make your dealership different. So we're very fortunate that we have a lot of partners that are willing to take our ideas and run with them, or have their own amazing ideas. Like, I can't take credit for this, but one of our dealers is doing Tesla style deliveries. He just bought a tow truck, had it completely branded, puts a big green bow on the top of the car, and they're offering driveway drop off. So one of their buttons is also their USP, which makes so much sense. And it's so simple, but it works. So don't overthink it. Don't put 14.
That is so true. I mean, definitely don't overthink it. But you have to have a strategy. To your point, Will, like it's not enough just to buy a template and just kind of run with it. That's so 20 years ago. It's like every dealership is different. Look, I work with like 22 different Nissan stores. I would love to tell you that our marketing efforts for each one of those are the same, but they're not. Right? Every single one's got a different demographic. Every single one's got different clientele. So small areas, large metropolitan areas, different ethnic backgrounds, and that approach to that marketing, that approach to how we change the website does make a big difference. Hey, I know we're getting towards the end of our time today, so thank you so much for taking the time to jam with me. But before we go, I get to ask one last question. It's my favorite question of the day. All right, you guys ready for it? Here it comes. All right, I'm going to start with you, Julie. All right, Mrs.
Okay.
Julie Taylor Brown, what is pissing you off?
Oh, what is pissing me off? Okay. I should have thought more about this. I would say okay, so backstory, I live very far from work. My house is far away. So right now, traffic is amazing, and it really cheeses me to know that every day there's just more and more cars. I'm hitting more brake lights, and I know I'm going to get back to the day where that drive is going to take me an hour and a half again. And that, my friend, is what's really pissing me off right now. I'm trying to take advantage of the time I have. I do not want to think about it.
I mean, I'm with you. Who doesn't get pissed off at traffic, right? I mean, it's the convenience, right? It's what we were talking about earlier. We were talking about productivity, right? It's like you're getting to work half the amount of time. That means you get this little extra time, before and after. Like, it's perfect. All right. Whit, Norrad, what is pissing you off?
We have obviously a dealer base of clients at Flex Dealer, and one of the questions that we ask a dealer when we onboard them is, what is your single most important goal for your new digital strategy or for your new website? And I've started to inject, you cannot just say more leads as the only answer. But if we look at a high level, that is the goal for a lot of dealers, and it's vague and there's holes in that single strategy, but more leads is the goal. The thing that is pissing me off is that there are dealers who do not answer their leads that we so lovingly curate for them. And we see them in Facebook Messenger come through, and then maybe a day later they get answered. And so we say, hey, I see you guys got some leads. You should answer them. And it makes me mad, and it surprises me because there's opportunities, and I don't see why people would leave them there. So yeah.
No, Whit, I'm totally with you.
Leads.
I'm 100% unanswered leads. That pisses me off. And you know what I think it is too, but I'll tell you how dealerships fix that. And a lot of it has to do with training. How many salespeople out there, really know what's all like it takes to generate that lead. Like, there is so much work, so many different people, so many things that have to happen, for that lead to even get produced. It's like there's just kind of a lack of respect for the fact that it's come in. And I'm with you on that one.
You phrased that very well.
Right? It is lack of respect. That's the way I'm gonna do it.
No, I'm grateful that we have, so we're the 11 stores, and that at some of the stores our lead times are down super low, and that's something they've really been focusing on. So I am grateful to say that I am not pissed off for that.
That's awesome.
Drive.
No, I've seen your numbers. I wouldn't be pissed off at your numbers either. I mean, talking about some seriously double-digit conversions for you guys. Hey, guys, for everyone out there watching and listening right now and would love to connect with you fine ladies, what is the best way to do so? Julie, I'll start with you.
Yeah, so LinkedIn is a great way to connect with me and stay updated. You can just find me on LinkedIn, Julie Taylor. And if you want to search Drive Auto Group, I'll show up there as well. If you wanted to connect with me by email, that's a secondary choice. So it's julie@driveautogroup.ca.
Awesome. Thanks. Hey, Whit, for yourself, what's the best way to connect with you?
Best way would be flexdealer.com. I am a simple @Whit Norrad on every platform imaginable, or whitney.norrad@flexdealer.com.
Awesome. Hey, thank you, ladies, for taking the time to jam with me today. This has been a ton of fun. You guys have yourself a wonderful one. And that's the show. That's how we do it.